Hi, my YouTube family. This is Robin with Ghetto Aerobics 1, 2, and 3. Today I'm going to talk about something that's real, true, near, and dear to my heart. One, because I've experienced it. Two, because I see so many people suffering from it. And I know I suffered deeply from depression. First of all, I will tell you that I have no PhD or master's degree. All I have is my life philosophy. So my way out, you may not see, but it sure as hell worked for me. Anyway, depression is something that's running rampant, you know, not just in lower class, middle class, upper class, it's in all classes of society. And a lot of people tend to deal with it differently. And the majority of the people are dealing with it in the way that society suggests that we do. However, upon my points of depression, I felt the need to draw back from society, which is something that you always do in depression, but there's a reason for that. There's a reason to have to step back and take a look at things around you, you know, to step back and take a look at you. You know, I always felt like depression was a very selfish point in life, and I fought with it because I felt so selfish, and all the things that I ever heard told me to not be selfish. You know, pray for others, do for others, think more of others than you do yourself. You know, but then there was one scripture in the Bible that told me, that I read, that told me to love my neighbor as I love myself. And that was a first commandment, the most important commandment, was to love your neighbor. But I realized through my points of depression that I couldn't love my neighbor because I didn't love myself. And I began to utilize my depression as a point of conviction. Instead of being at a point to where depression kept me down, I used my depression in an effort to build myself up. I used the points of depression when I thought that I wasn't worthy, or when I thought that I wasn't doing the things that were in me to do, or I felt less than a person. I began to ask myself, why? Because I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that there was nothing made that was not good. And I knew that I was made, so I knew that I was good. And I had to search for that greatness within me. So my depression went from 2 weeks, every other week, when people considered me bipolar. I had reasons for depression. My life was a depressed life. I was depressed most of my life. And I went from being a daughter to being a mother to being a wife to being an ex-wife to being a wife to being a new mother, to being a stepmother, to being verbally abused, to being physically abused, to being in my church and being ridiculed, to being in my size in the society and being ridiculed, and doing things that went totally against what my spirit had for me. And the reason being is because I allowed society, I allowed people to jump in on me. And then I take that through my points of depression. I wasn't bipolar. I just had a lot of things to deal with. Even in my sleepless nights and continuous thoughts rambling through my mind and me dealing with all these things, I didn't need medicine. I needed time out. I needed time out to mind my own business, to put aside what society said about depression. Excuse me. I had to see myself at a point of living life. Because to me, depression is a point to where you can go either way. You can continue to go down, or you can bounce up. You know, some people, they can be held down for so long, but eventually you bounce up. You let go of all that's keeping you bound. So now my points of conviction, or my points of where I make changes in my life are at 2 hours now. Approximately, I can say. I have good nights that I sleep. Excuse me, simply because I don't let the thoughts of society or what society would say about who I am keep me. I had to dig in my past. I had to forgive those who verbally abused me. I had to forgive those that said things about me that were not true. I had to forgive my parents. I had to forgive all I had to forgive all of those, even in history, in past history, that caused me to be bound, because that stuff trickles down. And whether we understand it or not, or even believe it or not, it can keep us in a position where we don't know what to do. I no longer put pills in my body. I used to be a dope head. I was a crack addict. I had abortions. I had a miscarriage, a teenage pregnancy, a young mother. I mean, so many things that I've dealt with in life that could cause me to be depressed, and I would be just in my depression. But it was because of those times that I used my depression to bring me joy, a smile to my face. And I share those things with others to bring smiles to their face. It's all this up here. It's what we think about ourselves and what we see, what we choose to do with our depression. I take my times of depression when I didn't want to eat, and I'd lose weight because that's what I wanted to do. But it wasn't until I focused my mind on the things of my past that kept me bound, and was able to forgive all those, to bring my family in, to love my mother despite those things that she said about me or thought I would be. Maybe she thought I was going to be a hoe like she was a hoe, or like her mother was a hoe, or like my great-grandmother was a hoe. I can say that because they didn't just have one husband. They didn't just have one man in their life. Whatever the circumstances, the situations that brought that about, I had to forgive them. I had to change my life in order to see different in their lives, and to forgive my family members so that I can go on, so that I can grow and be the person that God intended for me to be, so that I can break those generational curses, so I can do things differently in my life to help my family fulfill the blessings of God, to share those things. If my mom had to share all that stuff with me, to let me know that I had high levels of testosterone, to let me know that I was going to have a high sex drive, to let me know that my feet were going to be bigger than most women, or that I wasn't going to have large breasts, that I was going to be a big woman because of the male hormones that exuded my body. Because of those things, and understanding that about the women in my life, not just on my mom's side of the family, but my dad's side of the family as well. It takes some cultivation. It takes some research. It takes some diving and minding your own business. This is a task that cannot be accomplished by minding somebody else's business, by being in what society says about you. They consider you a statistic. What does society say about you? When you find that out, think differently. Because society's point of view are not always right, regardless of who put it together, regardless of the book smarts or the education that they have. Nobody has perfection mastered. Nobody has success mastered. If you understand that, nobody knows everything. I tell my sons all the time, the only difference between you and the rocket scientist is the materials that you read. It's the things that you get involved in. That's the only difference. All you have to do is broaden your mind and understand you. You got doctors that you go and talk to, that you go and see. You know, if we understand our bodies, if we understand our makeup, then we can do something different with our lives. We don't have to medicate ourselves. We don't have to do the things that society says we have to do to make a change. All we have to do is know ourselves individually. Get an understanding of who you are and grow that. And grow that. All the tools are available. Even if you have nothing, even if you're dirt poor and by yourself, stripped of your clothes, you still have your wherewithal. You still have your mind, your spirit, and your body. As long as you got that, you got everything you were ever given to live on this earth. Everything else is extra. Everything else outside of this right here is what I want. It's not what I need. All I need is me. All I need, and I'm speaking that to you. All you need is you to grow. Love you. Do you and grow you. May God bless you and keep you, my YouTube family. I love you. Peace.